is Joe Fernandez, founder and CEO of TBX. And we are a tech-enabled employee benefits, communication, education, enrollment, and benefits management platform. We had an internal accounting individual, internal bookkeeping, and we were fast growing out of that concept. One of the things that we wanted to do is change from a cash-based accounting into accrual accounting, because that better reflects, how the business is operating and how the business is generating growth and so on. And it better reflects the health of the company. And we did not have the internal resources that was able to even run a good accrual-based accounting process, and two, convert, even more of a challenge, convert our existing cash-based system into an accrual-based system. So the thought was, outsourcing this to a point where we have multiple resources available to us, and doing that process at basically not much different cost than if we were to hire one individual internally. We get 2 or 3 folks, and sometimes even more, working our account with you guys. We did look, or David, our CFO, did look at other folks. We were both looking for someone internally or outsourcing altogether, and looked at the outsourcing, and we chose your guys because, first of all, the whole value proposition, I think, was best, where we had not only someone that we work with day to day, but also we had a controller that worked with us. And what was important too is that we had someone that knew and would work with our existing tax advisors. We work with a fairly good, and we've had them for a long time before that, tax advisor, local CPA firm in Dallas. And so there was some history there, and certainly that bridging of working together came down really nicely. We felt too that we needed to move to an enterprise-based type software. Ultimately, you guys recommended NetSuite, which is who we are on today. And part of that was we were now having field individuals. We were growing into remote employees that had need to interface budgets and expensing and those types of things. And we were at QuickBooks before, and not that QuickBooks isn't now capable of doing some of those things. We just felt that an enterprise level was going to work and interface with some of our other platforms that we have. And so that recommendation one does, and that switch was done too. That was not, that's a lot of work, and you need a lot of expertise that you guys definitely have in making that transition from a QuickBooks into a NetSuite or other type platform. So that was another factor in that decision-making process, and it's worked great. One of the things that I think we were told early on to expect was that this is not an overnight flip the switch and it happens. It's more of an evolutionary process. So it took several months before we were fully out. So there was a time where you're basically operating out of both systems, and eventually it takes some time to bring everything together. The first step is to make sure that everything in the existing platform is in perfect shape before you start moving into other platform, because bad data in is bad data out. So that process took some time, but well worth it. The expertise behind it was critical. NetSuite is a type of software where when you subscribe to it, when you buy the system, you basically get a box. You need expertise to build it for your particular application, for your particular way of doing business, and our accounting is very complicated. We have cash, we have accruals, accrual accounts up to lots of them, and so the insurance business, of which we are tied into for our technology platform, is very much a complicated component. So having someone like you guys that absolutely understand how that works and how our accounting works or needs to work was critical and has worked fantastically. There is no question that over time as we grew, that became part of our goal, was to be in a situation where either we acquired or we seeked out other forms of growth capital and so on. But regardless of what direction we ended up with, the process still is important and is still upfront and is still the same. There's a huge due diligence process that goes in these types of transactions. Due diligence process that takes anywhere from 3 months to 6 months. The important thing and the central part of that due diligence process is accounting. It's your numbers, is your books, and in order to position your company, as we did, to be in the most favorable scenario to complete a successful transaction like that, your stuff has to be in order, and it has to be not only in order and in perfect shape. You need to have professionals that can articulate to those that are going through the due diligence process, to those suitors that may be acquiring or going through a private equity process, or even debt financing, however that may be, whatever path you take for growth capital. You need the individuals that can spend the time during that due diligence process to prepare additional reporting and additional commentary and additional back and forth. You need to have the expertise. That puts you in the best position to do it, to be successful in a transaction, and to do it as the most efficient way as possible. It takes a lot of time. And so to have ADC as our partners in that process, to be able to take on a lot of the heavy burden in that commentary, that articulate, that deliverable of the historical financial, and why in account number 3487Z whatever you recorded this, and why does the trial balance say that, and how, to have folks to be able to do that intimately, who were the ones who actually worked it, but also the ones that understand it and can articulate it, is a critical component. So definitely that's something that a lot of people don't understand, when they want to be in a position to sell their companies, and then all of a sudden they just, they've had internal bookkeeping and other things like that. That becomes a massive challenge that can potentially torpedo a deal if your books are not in order. But again, it's beyond just the books being in order, is having the professionals that can talk to the other professionals doing the due diligence to be able to do all that, the additional color and commentary of how your books are and where they are and why they are. Our most recent controller, who's actually been with us off and on throughout our history, Angie Caldwell, she's a rock star. I mean, absolute rock star. Quintessential professional. I mentioned earlier that our business is very, very complicated. So for these individuals to take the time to really dig, but not take hours and hours and our days to figure this out, but actually take all the information, absorb the information, start working with us day to day with that information, and then over a few months, really get a very good picture. Very impressive on 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, the deep understanding that they have of the complexity of our business was very good, very, very important, and certainly has made a differential behind that. Aside from the fact, the day-to-day aspects of, if you have invoices that we need to pay, hey, send them to, XYZ at tbxaccounting.com or whatever the case may be. The setups, the infrastructure setups that ADC did for us to make that stuff easy. No, don't email me invoices. Just send it to this email. It'll be taken care of. It goes through a process. It goes through a payment process. It goes through all that. Those types of things, easy day-to-day type of stuff made a huge difference and continues to be a huge difference for us. You got to get accounting. Accounting is critical to your business. You're never too small to really start a good accounting process. And the sooner you start, the better. but it's like anything. Accounting is not just the numbers in the books. It's setting up the process. It's setting up the rules, your internal rules, your guardrails that you're going to operate under. And even if you come from an accounting background or have some level of accounting knowledge, unless your business is accounting, you get professionals to do this for you, and do it sooner rather than later. And what I like about ADC and why I would recommend ADC is if your controller decides to seek another opportunity, you're not the one who have to source someone else out and hire them and train them and start all over again from ground zero. ADC's got you covered. Done. Okay. You'll have another controller that they'll appoint. And yeah, they'll go through a learning process, but the learning curve is tiny compared to what if you would have to do otherwise. And not to mention what ADC does is it pairs the proper individuals that you have in your organization to our world, to what our accounting is. So you don't have that whole training concept that you have to deal with. That is time that as a small business owner you don't have, and it's invaluable. And so the sooner you start, even though it may sound like it's a financial expense, in the long run, it's well worth it, especially if you're a company that plans on high growth, a company that wants to seek other revenues, other sources of capital for growth, and you need to interact with either private equity or banks or any kind of M&A type suitors. You need to have that done and squared away. The sooner the better, for sure.